Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox on Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. Because it all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna. Dallas Keuchel, Lamson got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
White Sox fans, happy Sunday, Funday, and welcome into Sox on Tap. It's Jonnie Nani here. I've got Tony Marchese and NWI Steve along with me after the White Sox take a game 3-1 from the Brewers on Sunday Night Baseball to salvage the series here, boys. Good to be back with a couple of faces here. You've been a two-man show for most of the season here, but good to have three of you on tonight. Sunday Funday. Let's get it going.
Let's do it, Johnny.
Hey, yo, boys. Let's go.
Guys, we needed this one. This Sunday night game here, looking bad. Friday night just got out of hand a little bit, and then Saturday night was self-inflicted completely. And unfortunately, Tony, you were in attendance for those. Rough go of it, yeah?
Yeah, it was a rough go. It was a good time. I'll say that. I'll give a little report from Milwaukee a little bit later on, but it was a rough go Friday and Saturday night in Milwaukee, at least watching the actual baseball part of that.
Yeah, especially Saturday night with all of the mental mistakes, physical errors on the field as well. So that didn't bode well. But tonight, Lance Lynn on the mound, boys. He comes through both on the mound and with the bat. He's a dual threat player. Ohtani who?
Ooh, they're coming in hot, Johnny. Coming in very hot with that Ohtani who. I love seeing Lance Lynn get it started early. I just got back from the trip today. I had a little time to kill before the game. So I turned on MLB The Show for like the first time in forever. And I got destroyed by the Brewers. But Lance Lynn was the first hit for me in MLB The Show this afternoon. And I saw Steve take him as the pick to click today in our group chat. And yeah, Lance Lynn with the bat, man, just getting the job done. Help yourself.
Might have to make a change to the saying here. It's not just guts and nuts anymore. It's guts, nuts, and RBIs.
Yeah, dude, it was unbelievable. I was totally. Let's go back even further because this is the White Sox. Only occurrence of scoring in this game in the top of the second, and it was Zavala getting it started. Actually, another guy that you don't expect to. Get the job done. But he laces a RBI single up the middle, and then Lance Lynn with a 2 RBI single opposite field. Took a fastball from Woodruff out there to right field. You know what? I'm glad that happened there because otherwise we would be, we still probably are at some point in the show going to bitch about the White Sox offense because, hey, scoring 5 runs all weekend against a team like the Brewers ain't going to get it done. Against any team, really, ain't going to get it done. But obviously able to squeak it out tonight, and I think it's just fitting and shows what a gamer Lance Lynn is all around.
Yeah, Lance Lynn is just, he's I can't even talk right now. He's must-watch television. Just every time this guy's on the mound, and even now when he's up to bat, like you have to watch him because he just brings that energy, Johnny. He brings everything to the table for this team, and he goes balls out all the time. And the Sox have needed somebody like that, and I think it goes back to something that we've all discussed on this show over and over again. The acquisition of Lance Lynn was the win now acquisition.
Tony, I'm going to have to stop right there. I'm going to have to ask you this question here. Is the trade making any sense to anybody yet?
Still no.
Yeah.
No,
hard to say.
Yeah. It's hard to understand what Rick Hahn was thinking making this trade to this day right now.
No fucking clue.
Yeah.
Never fail. We'll be asking it through all the extension. How about you extend him to what?
This is going to be 2 years, maybe even 3 years of comedy gold now that we get to have. But Johnny, kind of circling back on this and talking about the 3 runs coming from the bottom part of the order. This is something that we've seen out of this team really throughout the entirety of this season. Here is guys that we're not expecting a lot from. stepping up in key pivotal spots. Sebi Zavala getting things started there with the RBI single, and then Lance Lynn, being the helping his own cause as they are contractually obligated to say when a pitcher gets an RBI in situations like that. Things that you're not anticipating happening with this team. Everybody looks at and they want to see Timmy, they want to see Jose Abreu, they want to see Yohan Moncada be the guys, be the centerpieces that are leading this team to victory. But given the injuries and the inconsistencies that they've had at various points during this season, they've needed guys to step up and keep pivotal spots that they weren't expecting it from, and they got it again tonight, and that was huge.
One more for the good guys. Damn right, Sean Janko. It was pivotal coming up, and just a consummation of what the whole season's been about. Next man up, resiliency, unexpected places of production. So you'll love to see that. Only damage for Lynn came on the bottom of the fifth. A couple of back-to-back extra base hits. Taylor one out triple, and then Bradley with the double right after that to bring him home. That would be the only blemish all night for the White Sox here, guys. Lance Lynn finishes the night 6 innings, pitched 6 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. But I think we also need to give a little credit to Sebi Zavala behind the plate in pitch framing. Steve, if you want to go ahead and run with this, because it was noticeable tonight.
Yeah, Sebi was able to steal a number of strikes down below the strike zone. And this was something we actually saw, I would say, on both sides here throughout most of the evening, was that pitch down below the zone getting called consistently here. But that's something that, look, Zach Collins just simply struggles with. We got to be real about this. It's fair to say at this point, Zach Collins is not a good defensive catcher. I think that goes without saying. And I've talked ad nauseum, I think, in our group chat about the fact that I think there's one thing that Zach Collins does at an okay level at the major league, and that's hit against right-handed pitching. He's not hitting for a ton of power, but he's getting on base and he's giving you some level of production. That's the one thing he does. He's not there because of his defense, and it shows when you have a guy like Sebi in there who has consistently throughout the course of his minor league career and even in his brief cups of coffee at the big league level been a serviceable backup defensive catcher. So when you get a guy like that in there to help a guy like Lance Lynn, who's going to go and try to pound the zone, stealing you extra strikes, that's huge. And that's one of the things that this team is really missing by not having Yasmani Grandal here, who hopefully is back in very short order, which will only help to improve this pitching staff even more.
I'd debate keeping Sebi Zavala on the roster over Zach Collins when Grandal comes back. I would.
That's a spicy meatball right there.
Yeah, you want the meatball takes right here. Take the blanket away from Lucas Giolito for a second here and make him throw to somebody. If here's my thing, who are you catering to? If Lance Lynn loves throwing to Sebi Zavala and you just signed this man to an extension and he's your guy, and I mean, all the pitchers have raved about throwing to Sebi. I want a guy who's a defensive catcher in there, just on this roster as we head towards the crunch time here. If Zach Collins' only ability is to just hit righties somewhat consistently, you've got Yasmani Grandal's bat in there most of the time. You've got plenty of options to play around with at DH. I'd rather have Zavala's defensive abilities on the roster over Zach Collins, because it's just, what is he there for outside to cater to Lucas Giolito right now?
I see your argument in a vacuum, Tony, but when you go and step back, look at the broader picture, I think it's going to be clear as day that the offensive production that you do get, granted it's, kind of inconsistent, a little sporadic, obviously a split there, but it's going to be what you need in a backup role, especially since Yasmani Grandal will bring that defensive level back up. Now we're, right now we're comparing Sebi Zavala just to Zach Collins. Well, when you have Yasmani Grandal back in that mix, you're going back to another, guy who is above average defensively, especially in framing. So that's just my take on it. When you take the full step back and look at the broader picture and overall production, I've loved seeing Sebi get the job done tonight. And hey, if he would continue to do that and somehow finds like Adam Engel, looks like he randomly found a magic spark in his bat in the middle of 2019. If Sebi Zavala were to have that, sure, I think we could have that conversation. But if his hitting keeps up like it's kind of projected to, and what we've come to expect from Sebi Zavala, I think it that kind of puts that meatball take to rest in reality. But I do see the crux of the argument there, Tony. So glad we got to air that out. All right,
I'm just bringing the takes. Yeah. That's all.
You got to be careful there, Tony, though, because you may have certain family members of pitchers on this team sliding into your mentions now. So you got to be careful with these kinds of takes.
We'll have discussions.
Guys, let's talk bullpen here. Michael Kopech comes in to start the 7th inning, and he has no problem with that one. There was a double and a walk, no damage though, able to work out of that. And then he bats when his turn comes up in the order there. So obviously planning on leaving him in, for that next inning there in the 8th. We've known that he's now good to go on back-to-back days. He's good to throw multiple innings. I know he has done that in previous instances before, but he comes out, walks the first batter of the 8th. And then we go to Liam Hendriks, who masterfully shuts the door with the 6-out save. So would love to see that from one of your only consistent pieces in the bullpen here. But let's talk through the situation a little bit here, because anytime there's a decision like that where pitcher's hitting in a late spot in a game, open to criticism. Let's say that.
That definitely was, I would say, a very interesting set of decisions there. And I'll even take it back a step further. You look in the 7th inning when Taylor hit that leadoff double that Brian Goodwin couldn't catch. Tony, you and I were texting about this. Why was Brian Goodwin still playing center field at that particular time in the 7th inning of a 2-run ball game there when you had Adam Engel and you had Billy Hamilton there available on the bench? So that was kind of the first decision that I looked at that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then obviously when you go to Kopech, that pitcher spot is due to lead off in the 8th inning there. So I was almost thinking like, okay, is there going to be a double switch? Or are we going to see Collins come in for Sebi, defensively here so that, they kind of limit the pitcher spot coming up in the batting order there. And then, Kopech, obviously he gets through that 7th inning and then he hits to lead off the 8th and gives up that walk, to lead off the bottom half of the inning. And then Tony takes him out right away. So there's definitely a lot of room for second guessing from a tactical standpoint from a guy that spent a number of years in the National League, obviously. But I mean, it ultimately worked out in the end, but definitely some head scratching moves, I think, from my perspective.
So I'll give the center field with Goodwin out there instead of Hamilton or even Engel. I'll give that some credit. I did question that myself. I thought that there was arguably a move you can make at that point in time to bring in some better defense in the outfield, because Goodwin in center, he's not as quick as either of those guys, and he's not as good with the glove as either of those guys are. And I think that some of that's going to get put to rest when you have Luis Robert back in the outfield. I think that's your key right there. You're going to have a guy that can go all 9 innings and not have to be replaced for defensive abilities, and that lets you deploy, depending on who's on the roster, Adam Engel or Billy Hamilton into your corner outfield spots, and gives you one of the quickest, fastest, best defensive outfields in the major leagues, in my opinion, in late inning ball games, if you have to deploy that. But I think the Kopech usage thing, you can kind of question it, but if you look at his usage, you go back his last game that he pitched in 5 days ago, he went 2 innings. I forget who brought it up on a broadcast the other day, where they were talking about Michael Kopech's usage down the stretch, where he either is, planned on to go 1 inning over the course of either back-to-back games or 2 in 3 days, and then, or use him multiple innings and kind of stretch him out over the course of 4 to 5 days. If you look at that and you take that into consideration, I'm pretty sure what their plan is to go for Michael Kopech to go 2 innings tonight. Now, plans change all the time. I don't think it's in Tony La Russa's hands that Michael Kopech walks that first batter of the 8th inning there. You kind of force the hands there. I mean, a lot of people who question this move are the same people out there questioning why Liam Hendriks isn't used in the most valuable situations, spots where you need him to go shut things down. And that's exactly what Tony La Russa did. Even a guy who's been very critical of that, and that's Jordan Lazowski, was out there on Twitter tonight talking about how it was good for Tony La Russa to go to Liam Hendriks there in the 8th inning after Michael Kopech walked that batter. Now, I'm not in the dugout. I have no idea what the discussions are between Katz and La Russa, or, what's going on there. But you have to remember, this isn't all just Tony La Russa, mismanaging or doing all sorts of stuff. Katz is involved in this situation. There are other members of the coaching staff who had faith in Michael Kopech, and most White Sox fans have had faith in Michael Kopech as your de facto guy behind Liam Hendriks. You want him out there for 2 innings. I want Michael Kopech pitching multiple innings. That's the strategy they were deploying tonight, was that Michael Kopech was going to go out there in the 8th inning and get you some outs and save Liam Hendriks' arm. He wasn't able to get the job done. You can question all you want about, throw Garrett Crochet in there. Well, fuck, man, if Garrett Crochet comes up in there in the 8th inning with a clean inning and blows it, what the fuck are we doing here? There's no guarantee that a pinch hitter is going to come in there and do any better than Michael Kopech did at that point in time. The Brewers have a good pitching staff themselves too. It did all work out in the end. But what really, really grinded my gears during this is the fact that the ESPN broadcast, who's basically watched no White Sox baseball all season, threw so much gasoline on the question TLR fire tonight during the 8th inning, and while this was all ensuing, that you would think that like the world was burning down when you have Liam Hendriks waiting in the wings there to go out there and get you that 6th inning save. I thought Liam Hendriks was billed as a guy that can go multiple innings. I thought that's what we were getting. We used him tonight. It worked. That was you have backup plans right there. This was your A squad bullpen. It worked out. End of story. So I don't know where the questions come from in that regard.
Yeah, Tony, I like that you bring up the backup plan there, because it's like, sure, plans can go awry. We've seen that. Just look at wild card game 3 last year. Plans can go for unforeseen circumstances, for guys just losing command or whatever it may be. But the backup plan was there, and that was Liam Hendriks going 6th, and that's only the second time he's done it this year. I'm glad it was tonight in Milwaukee instead of in fucking April against the Texas Rangers or something.
I saw somebody out there asking, who are we going to in the 8th, 9th tomorrow? We're facing the Royals. You're supposed to be up by 5-6 runs. Give it to Ryan Berg. Give it to somebody. But I want to bring up the fact that like the bullpen does need help. Rick Hahn should be on the phone for a bullpen piece right now. I don't know what's out there or what that's going to cost, but if we are only relying on Michael Kopech and Liam Hendriks to get through a playoff series, we're going to have some problems. Either somebody internally has to step up, Aaron Bummer, just to, first person right here on my radar. Like, somebody's got to be better in that bullpen and be trusted in these situations. The White Sox offense also needs to give these guys a little bit more support. Today was way closer than it should have been. For all the talk of how this was a hitter's paradise park and the windows were open and the roof is open, we should be hitting balls out. I watched a lot of balls die out there all weekend. The one Jose hit today looked like it was an absolute missile that should have been way out of the ballpark. There was a lot of dead air there, at least when I was sitting on the left field side. A lot of dead air there. It just felt so humid and dense. And like everything that looked like it jumped off the bat just went to die. So I wasn't really too shocked that died, but there was a lot of talk on the broadcast again about how things it felt like a launching pad there and a great place to hit. It seemed very hard to hit a home run.
Yeah. And, like I said, fucking 5 runs all weekend. That's not ideal. Luckily they were able to pull out a victory, not a much needed one. Salvage series, obviously still lose it, but, better than getting swept. We know that. So, the offense needs to pick it up, but luckily there will be reinforcement on the way tomorrow, and a big one at that. Guys, let's talk about Eloy Jimenez returning to the team for this 4-game set in Kansas City. Hi, Mom.
Eloy. This could not come at a better time for this team. Obviously we kind of see they're going through a little bit of a malaise here, coming off that Twin series, and then this weekend with Milwaukee. Obviously Milwaukee higher caliber pitching than what they've seen previously, but starting to get some of the reinforcements getting back. You're going to be closer to looking like a fully functional team that we anticipated that we're going to see coming into the season here. And I also think it's a good decision to get him these 4 games against Kansas City on the road. One of the things that I was concerned about a little bit, and there was a lot of speculation going that he was going to use the full 20 days, which would have brought him back for this coming Friday at home against Cleveland. And I thought it just made sense to allow him to get some at-bats, get his feet under him on the road there in a little bit of a less pressure-packed environment. So this way that he's not just getting thrown right into the fire. Home crowd, division rival, a team that's trying to chase you down there. Maybe he's trying to go out there and do a little bit too much against that Cleveland Indians pitching staff. So I think it's going to be nice for him to be able to go out there for 4 games, get 12, 15 plate appearances before he steps back in that box at 35th and Shields. And he's going to get a standing ovation. So he's going to be pretty pumped up and amped up and trying to do a little bit too much. So I think this is a good move to get him back in this lineup starting tomorrow.
I do as well, Steve. And I kind of was on the impression that he was going to beat this timeline. It seems like these White Sox players who have been injured, with the exception of Nick Madrigal, have kind of beat their timelines. You look at Luis Robert, he's ahead of schedule. Yasmani Grandal looks ahead of schedule. These guys want to be part of this. They want to be part of what seems to be a magical season on the South Side. And they're all hard workers, and they're all athletes in the best shape of their lives. Recover from things a lot quicker than a guy like myself or any of us here, maybe outside of Steve, because he's a physical specimen. But there's so much energy with this team right now, Steve, and I agree. Getting him those at bats on the road are going to be awesome. I am sure that there's going to be a welcome reception for Eloy Jimenez all next weekend. But you want to see him back in the lineup as soon as possible. So it's not even just about getting him at bats before he gets home. Like, this offense, as we saw over the weekend, could use some help. This is a major addition, somebody that we thought could be out for the entire season at one point. So, getting him back right now, for as well as the Sox have performed in adding him to this lineup, like, you don't even need full production Eloy for this thing to be even more dangerous. Him at 60, 70% is still probably an above average major league hitter. Let's get him in the lineup. Let's get him hitting bombs. And as you say all the time, Steve, ball go far, team go far.
Guys, I'm so excited. I mean, it's just such a massive piece of the lineup that we've been missing for so long. We talk about the White Sox, they mentioned on the broadcast, second to last in home runs in the American League. They're in like the mid-20s range among all baseball ranks there. This immediately adds a power threat right in the middle there. And then that benefits guys around him too, because, if you're trying to pitch around Eloy, then maybe that opens up better pitches for the guys ahead and behind him. So I can't wait for it. And good points that you brought up, Steve, about kind of the mental aspect, because let's be realistic about this. We love Eloy as a player. We love the production he provides, but he's a little bit immature. Let's just call a spade a spade. That's what it is. He's a little bit immature, and that sort of environment of coming back home right away, I believe, would lead to what Steve said, maybe trying to do a little too much. Unfortunately, when Eloy tries to do a little too much sometimes, that results in him getting injured. And obviously, I think it's going to be DH at least to start, but fingers crossed he doesn't get out in the field for your sake, Tony. We'll be hearing about that all damn show if ever that happens. I'm sure it will at some point. But even on a swing or something, it was a torn left pectoral muscle, or a tendon. That can, with a long swing and finishing through, if you're overexerting it, that could be re-aggravated in that same area. So I agree with the points that you guys made there, but going to be great to have the big baby back on the White Sox active roster here. So will be interesting to see what the official move is. Obviously, it was Tony Lewis, so just announcing that to the media before today. Check ontapsports.com and the Sox on Tap Twitter page for all that stuff.
What do you guys? I just want to ask you guys real quick. Who do you think the corresponding move is going to be for Eloy Jimenez?
It has to be Jake Berger. I don't see where else the plate appearances are coming from, especially with Yohan Moncada playing third base there. Unless they are going to show a willingness to maybe try him at second. I mean, maybe then, you think about Danny Mendick, but Tony has shown more willingness to use Mendick at short than Leury this year. So in my opinion, I just think it's got to be Jake Berger at this point.
Yeah, I just look at minor league options. Most, and Gavin Sheets is hitting too well, and that, you're getting a righty bat. So you send down a righty bat. You want to keep Gavin Sheets around for some lefty power. Jake Berger is my move too.
That's who I thought it was going to be. There's some internal discussion in my own head about where this is going to go, because you've got Luis Robert coming up shortly there behind him. So I'm going to ask the same question to you guys. Once he comes back, say Berger's the guy you send down. Who's next?
I think at that point it's probably Brian Goodwin, if we're being completely honest. Well, let me preface that. If Gavin Sheets continues to hit
Yes.
The way he has hit to this point, I think it has to be Brian Goodwin because he's not going to give you a lot of defensive value. And the bat has cooled significantly here over the last couple of weeks. Now, I'm not sure they're going to be able to pass him through waivers, to be completely honest with you. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, I don't know that they would take a chance in sending Gavin Sheets down right now if he's continuing to produce. That doesn't seem like something that Tony would be willing to do at this point. Because let's be real, we're just trying to win fucking ball games here. We're trying to win an American League pennant.
Yeah.
I had a nightmare last night that they sent Gavin Sheets down, and then I woke up.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to still have some time too. Let's think realistically here. Robert is still, a few weeks behind Eloy in that whole, scenario of where he's at in the rehab stint. So you're going to have some time to decide that, and those guys can help decide it themselves by either playing well, worthy of that roster spot, or cooling off and being okay. If you have an option, you're going to be the one to go. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and when the exact time is for Luis Roberts' return. Obviously, still kind of in the earlier stages of that rehab stint. So that'll be interesting, though. But once again, Eloy returning to the team on Monday. So let's talk about this game Monday night in KC. Start of a 4-game series. It'll be 7:05 p.m. Central Time start. Dallas Keuchel for the White Sox, Mike Minor for the Royals. Steve, what do we got in this matchup?
We got a couple of southpaws that are not necessarily hard throwers. Got to be a little crafty, use a lot of cunning, a lot of guile. And the Royals are a team that has been struggling of late. So Diamond Dallas, go out there, don't dick around, challenge these guys from the outset, pound the strike zone, avoid that pivotal inning that he seems to have had in almost a majority of his starts this year where that command and that control just kind of drifts away from him. You got to prevent that. You got a bad team. You got to kick them while they're down, kick them in the nuts, go out there, get a dub.
Steve, I like that you brought that up. It almost seems as if Dallas Keuchel and Dylan Cease suffer from almost the exact same thing. And I know Cease can bring it, but both of those guys' stuff is based on movement and pinpoint control. When they're on, they're on. Those things just, for some reason, come back to bite them in one large inning, and that's been their problem at least this year for Dallas Keuchel. But for Cease's entire career, how do you get around that, Steve? You were a pitcher, so let's take you back to your prime days, and how do you get by that?
I think the biggest thing is you just have to go out there and you have to have a mindset that you're trying to prevent every guy from getting on base. So whether you go out there and you have a 3-run lead or a 4-run lead, you got to focus it almost as if it's a 0-0 game, that you have to make quality pitches with pinpoint accuracy each time you get the ball. And you just can't let your guard down and think, okay, I can, kind of take my foot off the gas a little bit because we got a little bit of a lead here. You got to go out there and you have to have every pitch come out of your hand with intent and with focus. And you have to just ultimately believe that you're going to get every hitter out, and you have to approach it that way.
So you're telling me that they need to talk to Lance Lynn more?
I wouldn't rule it out because let's be real about this. Lance Lynn, he's got that mindset. And I've talked about this, seemingly every time that we've been together here, boys. Lance Lynn, he's got the mindset of, I'm going to take the ball, I'm going to shove it up your ass, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. I don't care if it's Mike Trout. I don't care who else is in the box. It could be fucking Babe Ruth. I don't give a shit because I've got the ball and you're not going to beat me.
That's the one thing I want to see from our control guys, our guys with that nasty stuff, like Dylan Cease, Dallas Keuchel. I want to see that same attitude from them that you get from the fireballers on this team, like Liam Hendricks, like Lance Lynn, like Michael Kopech, that fuck you, you're not going to touch this. It doesn't matter if it's going to be 100 miles an hour up and in or a nasty breaking ball. I want that fucking same energy from these guys. And I feel like if they just let themselves loose a little bit more and had that attitude towards it, maybe they're going to avoid some of those innings. Thoughts, guys? Maybe that's just me talking out of my ass here, but I feel like both of those guys lean timid more on the mound. When you have those innings, it just feels like they lean timid. And if you look at a guy like Lucas Giolito, you've got like Jekyll Hyde shit going on here. You've got sometimes it's fuck you stuff, and other times he's pouting around on the mound where he doesn't know who he is, and you see more of the timidness in the big innings. You got to trust your stuff is what you're going at, Steve.
I would say don't undersell it, Tony. Don't say that it's just like a random thing that's are you crazy talking about? No, Lance Lynn himself has said this, and he's a mentality that he's trying to instill among these pitchers. He had talked about this was in maybe late May when he's talking about addressing the mentality of the whole starting staff. And he's saying that you got to have the bulldog mentality. Obviously, we know that he embodies that to a T. But it's instilling that, and like you said, I think it's very legitimate that these guys need to talk to Lance Lynn more, and they need to let it out, let the emotion out a little bit. I think that could help, and it also kind of deflates the other team too, especially you get a big K. Like I'd love to see one time, maybe he's probably not going to scream, but a Dylan Cease fist bump or something
And this goes back to just me watching Dylan Cease play disc golf over the All-Star break. And he had so much emotion there and fist pump, screaming at the top of his lungs. I mean, you bring that emotion after you drop a hammer on, I don't care who it is, Jose Ramirez, and he strikes out. And you see that from Dylan Cease. That's going to pump up the crowd. It's going to pump up your bench. It's going to pump yourself up, get the adrenaline flowing just a little bit. I think both of those guys can bring that. I mean, obviously I've seen it from Dylan Cease. And maybe that's not how he is when he's on the mound. Maybe he feels like he's out there. He's just doing his job. He's trying to get things done, in his own way. And that's his mindset. But I think that there is something to be said for that fuck you attitude. You're not going to touch this. That brings the competitive edge that you see from a guy like Lance Lynn. So that's why I say maybe they should talk to Lance Lynn more, let it out, just air it out. There's so much, that goes into that mental edge in this game. And you want to see it.
It can inject life into a ball game that feels lifeless. Look,
Correct.
The White Sox looked lifeless the first 2 games of the series, but you get your big fella, you get your big personality on the mound tonight, and that just brings a different aura to it. Obviously, maybe call it a little lucky. Yeah, sure. What are the chances that Lance Lynn would have gotten hit there based on his career numbers at the plate from his time in St. Louis? But yeah, sure, that plays into it, but it gives the rest of the team an edge. You didn't see shitty mental mistakes today. There was no egregious errors like there were multiple of on Saturday night. So
this made me laugh my ass off in my own head. Every pitch should be like the last pitch before Tommy John surgery. Okay. I like that. Pitch like it might be your last pitch. Have the emotion that everything might be the last time you throw baseball in the major leagues. Have that attitude. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No. Good way to induce a winning mentality. So, guys, this series, it's obviously taking place at the beginning here of trade deadline week. Do we think Whit Merrifield or other members of the Royals exit before this thing can even wrap up?
I still find it hard to believe that Whit Merrifield is going to get traded. I had heard some stuff, and I had some people send me, some of the screenshots from some social media website that I'm not really familiar with, saying that I think it was the Seattle Mariners that were sniffing around with Whit Merrifield. I still have a hard time thinking that he is going to get moved. The Royals don't really have a whole lot of trade pieces, I think, from my perspective here. So I don't know that they're going to do a whole lot, but I think the Sox, as we've talked about at length here in recent weeks, they've got to find some way to address this bullpen. I think particularly from the right side here, they need to have an impactful late inning, high leverage right-handed reliever come into the mix. And I think also addressing second base ultimately, whether it's Eduardo Escobar, Jonathan Scope, somebody like that, would definitely provide further balance to this team. And it is really going to be incumbent upon Rick Hahn to act on this. And I think, and you can easily argue that this is going to be the most important 4.5-day stretch of Rick Hahn's tenure as a general manager. And little teaser here, somebody may be writing a little something on that very topic for tomorrow.
There you go.
I don't know if Whit Merrifield's going to get traded, but it would be really interesting to see that happen. One thing that I'm kind of questioning is, what is Seattle doing here? Are they going to add? Are they going to sell? What are they doing? Because they had a really good weekend. They're in an interesting position. They've got a better record than the Yankees. What are the Yankees going to do? This is an interesting market. You saw Adam Frazier go to the Padres today, and they're going to deploy him, what it sounds like, in the outfield. So they're getting creative with things. Obviously, they're not done yet. There's reports over them adding more pitching. There was reports of them adding Craig Kimbrell. Not sure if that actually went through or not, but saw some talk about that internally, and some on-tap chats that were happening tonight. So the market is really interesting this year. It wouldn't surprise me because, like you said, Steve, they don't have a lot of trade chips and they want to get something. What better than to move Whit Merrifield, because you're probably going to get a better return than what the Pittsburgh Pirates got for Frazier here. So if you get the right offer for him, I can see him moving, but it's just interesting to me that it's Seattle. Like what's their game here? I don't know. I'm going to toss it to you guys on this one, because I saw, and this is probably totally not what's going to happen, but I saw Nick Madrigal's name being floated around White Sox Twitter, going to Seattle, that they're interested in him.
Very reputable source.
Yeah, very reputable sources were saying that Nick Madrigal was of interest to the Seattle Mariners. It's like, what's going on here?
Is his hamstring alive?
I don't know. So it's very interesting, and it is definitely fake account season as well. So there's all sorts of rumors. Everybody loves rumors. We love rumors. We eat that shit up. But I don't see the White Sox parting from Nick Madrigal and sending him to the Seattle Mariners for any reason here. But it's just there's a lot of middle infield guys that are all over, it seems like, this year. The trade rumors and everything. Haven't really seen a lot of big name relievers being moved around. And when you talk about bullpen help, like, why didn't, some reputable sources say that the White Sox are interested in Craig Kimbrell if he's actually on the block for the Cubs?
I just don't think that there's going to be another Sox-Cubs deal of significance for a number of years. I think just given the nature of that trade that brought Eloy and Dylan Cease to the Sox, I don't think we're going to see another significant one here for a number of years. And Craig Kimbrell would qualify as a significant move, just given how strong of a season he has had in the Cubs bullpen, really the last year and a half. I mean, he's been one of the top relief pitchers in baseball. He's their one true trade chip. And I don't think the Sox have what it takes ultimately to be able to get him in the first place. So I think they're going to have to get really creative with what they do in terms of how they address the bullpen. As I've talked about, I think in a number of post-game shows here of recent weeks, they just don't have the guys in the farm system that they need to make significant moves. So Rick Hahn is going to have to put on that big boy brain of his, with his 3 high-level degrees, and find some way to address this team to put them in a position to win an American League pennant.
What do you think the return that they're going to get for a guy like Kimbrell is? I'm not going to say, like, don't go out there and give names, but in terms of farm system, like, top 30 guys, like how many top 30 guys is it going to cost? Or is it major league ready talent? What do you think that he costs at this deadline?
I think he can probably get a prospect in the top 5 of a team's farm system, and then a secondary piece to it as well. I mean, relief pitching is very important in October, as we've seen over the last 5 to 6 years. And, if you think about the teams that are maybe in the mix, I mean, the Houston Astros, for example, I don't think anybody really feels confident in that bullpen. If you put him in the 9th inning with that lineup, you'd feel a lot better about their chances going forward here. If you put him back in Boston, with the relief core that they have, you'd feel a lot better about where they are at ultimately. If you're the New York Mets, given all the problems that Edwin Diaz has had, he would be a very significant upgrade for a team like them. And then you look on the West Coast with like the Giants and the Dodgers, especially the Dodgers, given the problems Kenley Jansen has had in the last 2 to 3 weeks. They're a team. They're picking up the phone. They're making that phone call. So I think that's the one guy that the Cubs are going to be able to get a significant return on. And like I said, I think it would be a top 5 player in a respective farm system for whomever they deal with. And then you're going to get at least one more piece out of it. I would say probably maybe in like the 15 to 20 range of a farm system.
So that said, if you're Rick Hahn and like you laid out the you don't think that there's going to be a major trade between the Sox and the Cubs, where are you looking to go get a guy who's going to be a reliable 7th, 8th inning guy to go help out Michael Kopech and Liam Hendricks, Steve? Like that, this is going to be a lot tougher than I think a lot of people make it out to be. Like I know that we make the jokes about, Rick Hahn's going to have to go put, his brain to work here and go figure this out. But there's not a lot of names out there that are locked down, even in high leverage situation guys on these teams that are out there, because there's plenty of need. Everybody has that need. And if the White Sox don't have those prospects to go give that up, I mean, you're probably talking guys like a Jake Burger or somewhere around that level of almost on the fringe, major league ready talent to go give up, because I've seen a lot of people on that social media site that you no longer frequent, say like, oh, Jake Burger should be untouchable. There's no reason that we should be giving him up, for anybody. But you want to go acquire a guy who's going to be high leverage, a lockdown 8th inning, potentially a closer of some team that's selling right now. Those names aren't really out there and existing without paying some sort of price to go get. So this is, to me, I look at this and say, like, there's certain guys on this roster who have to figure it the fuck out to really help this thing along.
Yeah. Trade deadline acquisition, tinfoil hat time here real quick is Rick Hahn's building a time machine, and he's going to get, mid-late 2019 Aaron Bummer back in form here, just playing in the year 2021.
You may need that. Because there's also the same fact that people are saying this team's going to stand pat, and that's going to be a crime. But I just don't know where you go from here. And I'm asking you guys for help because I can't make sense of it in my own mind.
Wait a minute. I got to ask this question. There are people out there that have legitimately said that Jake Burger is untouchable.
I'll let you go to that website.
Okay. So I'm going to need somebody to walk me through this here. Okay. So the White Sox have Yohan Moncada, who they signed to a long-term extension. They have Jose Abreu, who is signed for at least one more year. And I think it's pretty clear at this juncture that he will be in a White Sox uniform as long as he decides he wants to be in a White Sox uniform. So he's at first base. Andrew Vaughn, who was the team's number 3 overall draft pick in 2019, playing out of position in left field, is also by nature a first baseman. Okay. Eloy Jimenez, we are now seeing, is being shifted to the DH spot. Nick Madrigal plays second base. Where are the consistent at bats and where's the consistent playing time coming for Jake Burger that would make him and deem him untouchable? What am I missing here?
I don't know, but Steve, okay, so I'll play devil's advocate here. Jake Burger plus something for Kimbrel. Like, why has that not been done outside of the vacuum that is, the fact that there was a major trade made between the Sox and the Cubs in recent years that, may not be to the liking of the North Side?
The simple answer to that question is because Jed Hoyer can do a lot better than Jake Burger.
Okay. So then that's all I needed answered there, because I just wanted to know where you valued Jake Burger versus where they can get for what they can get for Craig Kimbrel.
I just don't think that Jake Burger has a path to being an everyday player on this team, or even being a guy that can get semi-regular playing time. Like, this is literally the type of guy that is either, that is AAA depth for you, or a trade piece to get you something that you need if you're trying to win the fucking World Series, which last time I checked is the objective of this team in 2021.
Yeah. Well done. That's I would never deem him untouchable. That's me, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting week here. Obviously, trade deadline coming up at the end of it. So, Guys, filling out final topics here. Tony, tell us a little bit about the experience in MKE this weekend. I'll get to some extra fun stuff there, get our picks to click in, and then we will sign off for the evening.
So one thing, Jonnie, that you have said, or a segment that we've done on this show is cool shit you saw in White Sox Twitter, just White Sox land in general. I had the opportunity to sit very close to the White Sox dugout for the last 2 ball games before tonight. And I watched BP, both games I was there. There was a lot of really interesting stuff in that. But one thing that really rang home to me was Liam Hendriks' autograph signing session that he did on Saturday night, right before the players went in during the field prep time. So there was a kid who was standing down near the dugout as Liam Hendriks was the last one in and started just calling out Liam Hendriks. Hendriks ran over, like almost full sprint to this kid to sign a baseball. The whole entire team is back in the locker room just getting ready for the day. And of course, a crowd forms around Liam Hendriks. And I haven't really witnessed this with a lot of guys. Like even me as a kid myself, like there's been times where, I used to walk up with baseballs and like some people just go away empty handed. Like I'm sure you guys have experienced that yourself. Liam Hendriks stood there and signed baseballs with a smile on his face for every single person and probably signed 75 to 100 autographs by the time this thing was done. And personally, stood there, took pictures, smile on his face, was having the best time of his life out there for all these kids. Some adults were out there too. I'm not going to hold any judgment, but he was out there building Sox fans, Liam Hendriks fans for life. And I think that that's so cool. I think that that's something that it's very understated in today's game because he doesn't have to do that. Like that's just, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to be there, but he took time to talk to, sign baseballs for, and just be a good human being. And a good White Sox player. I think that's something that's so cool. And we don't talk about a lot of that shit on the show. We don't talk about, players being good people and all this other stuff. But I thought it was really cool watching him sign baseballs, have fun with the fans. He was very appreciative that people just wanted his attention and he wanted to give that back. And I thought it was just absolutely awesome. I had to shout it out on the show. I tweeted something out from Sox on Tap while I was there when I saw it happening. He just looked genuinely happy to be surrounded by a bunch of people who root for the team that he plays for. And I think that was just awesome. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but that was the coolest thing I've seen all year from a White Sox player.
Liam Hendriks is a great baseball player and even better person. I mean, right as soon as after he signed the deal over the offseason, him and his wife were already in, what can we do for charities on the South Side? And they jumped right into that in, February. Hadn't even played a game in a White Sox uniform yet, and already doing that. So it just speaks to his character. And like you said, it matters. Now the White Sox are getting good, more attention here. You get a kid experiencing something like that firsthand, Tony. Like you said, I love it. I love the way you worded that. Building White Sox fans for life. That's what it's all about. You love to see it.
Yeah, and that just the smiles on kids' faces, like getting to meet a big league player right before a game, getting an autograph, all that other stuff. Because everybody else just runs off the field or maybe signs 1 or 2 autographs and moves on. And I'm going to go back to an experience I had with my own kid just 2 years ago. It was right before a tailgate that we all had, Jonnie. And I've got a picture of it. Reynaldo Lopez sitting there, looking completely pissed off to even be involved in an autograph signing session for a bunch of kids on Kids Day. Like he wanted nothing to do with it. There's a bunch of guys that don't care for that, don't want to be there. The team asks them to do it and they do it out of obligation. This was Liam Hendriks doing it because, well, he fucking wanted to. He could have caught hell from Tony La Russa down in the locker room or any of the coaches. Like, where the fuck were you? This was long after the rest of the team was out there. It was like almost 45 minutes of autograph signing and everything. And he just went out of his way. And the smiles on kids' faces as they walked up the aisle, holding the ball up, like Liam Hendriks is now my favorite player. Like I overheard that from like 2 or 3 kids. I just think that that's cool. You build White Sox fans for life that way. And I think that that's a good lasting memory for for baseball fans. And I think that there needs to be a little bit more of that in this sport in general, because baseball does everything to go out of its way to hurt itself. And there's guys like Liam Hendricks that they just get it. I think Tim Anderson is kind of in that same boat. And we're lucky that we have a good team, but we also have a team that cares about its fans, and that there's certain guys out here that just want to go the extra mile to, give somebody the experience and love the game of baseball. And I just think that that's awesome. And I can't say enough how appreciative I was to witness that situation.
Look at this, a wholesome Sunday Funday here on Sox on Tap. You love to see it.
I have to give credit where credit's due. Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, let's continue some some Sunday funny topics here. My version for cool shit that I saw in White Sox land is the way that the fans traveled this weekend. Awesome to see and hear so many. I did not make it up to Milwaukee, but obviously you were able to, Tony. A lot of On Tap Sportsnet contributors were able to make it up. Loved seeing everybody enjoying themselves up there representing the South Side. Unfortunately, even though the games didn't go our way first 2 days, you felt the White Sox presence up there just from watching on TV. You heard it. And tonight, there's like a reaction. Like I was like looking away for like a second, and I had to look up because it was cheers, and I didn't know if it was Brewers fans or Sox fans cheering. And it was Sox fans cheering because it ended up being like a strikeout for the White Sox. And I was like, oh my God, it's awesome to see that. I know the proximity where Milwaukee is located, just not too far from Chicago, one of the closest opponents we could play here. But it's good that fans went out there, and you see it's not just there, obviously not in as great of numbers when you travel further distances, but you're going to see some Sox fans on the broadcast when they're in KC. Guarantee there'll be people out there. We've seen them in Cleveland already. We've seen them in Minnesota. We've seen them other places that they've traveled so far. So I just thought that was really cool. This team was represented well by its fans, despite the team not representing themselves well on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, Jonnie, in the stadium, man, it was actually pretty cool. It felt like a home game. There was combating chants all weekend. Let's go White Sox versus, let's go Brewers. You saw some Brewers fans who were pretty upset about that. But for the most part, as far as where I was, everybody was friendly, Wisconsin friendly, and there was no issues. I do know that the farther up you went in the ballpark, there were some fights and different things that took place. But it was a good stadium. I know, Steve, you've been up there before. Jonnie, I don't know if you've ever been there, but the stadium was fantastic. The food, underrated. And one thing that I just desperately have to say is the smell of Comiskey Park is second to none. There's no good smell from Miller Park, or what do they call it now? American Family Field or whatever it is. You don't feel like you're walking into a ballpark when you're walking in there, because the first thing I'm always greeted with as soon as we come over the bridge that goes over 35th Street is just the most wonderful smell in the world. Did not have that. And the only brat that I consumed in the stadium was subpar to the brat I had in the Revolution Room, Jonnie. I just got to drop that on Wisconsin right there.
Well, they're not living up to, what should be a staple for them, the way they talk it up.
Yep. Steve, you got anything cool in White Sox land that you've seen lately?
Well, one thing cool, just looking on our broadcast here, you got me and Jonnie, part of Headband Crew here. We got Buzz, part of the Headband Crew. Tony, when are you joining?
I can join the Headband Crew at any point in time. I've actually got a few headbands. I may join the Headband Crew next time we do a show together, if that's what you're requesting.
Look, I feel like we've got no choice at this point. We're like the NWO. Buzz made the GIF where he put us all on the various heads. I feel like you have to do it right now. I'm rocking the hat, man. I'm a hat guy, but I do have a few headbands. I've got the junk headband myself. I've got the White Sox with the American flag grayed out behind it, and I wear it frequently, just not on the show, Steve. Okay, well, I've never seen that before, so I'm gonna have to then request it the next time you and I are on here together. I'll
oblige. I'll oblige, right, just for you, Steve.
All right, that's what. Listen, as the senior citizen member of the Sox on Tap crew, if I can embrace it and just go full blown stupidity with this thing all the time, everybody else can.
There you go. And then I'm going to request a cowboy hat night on this show at some point.
All right. That's fair.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, let's get some picks to click. We're about to wrap this thing up, and then I'll do some housekeeping. If you guys have any final thoughts after your picks to click, go ahead and air them out. But who we got for this Monday game? I would assume Eloy is going to be in the lineup, so there's an option for someone if they want it. But you guys go ahead. I'll go third here.
Eloy.
That didn't take long. That did not take long at all. I feel like it's been a while since Gavin Sheets has hit a home run. So I might roll with Gavin Sheets. I don't know. I'm having some trouble here. It kind of disappointed me this weekend on a few different levels. But one guy I really want to see leave the yard, and I'll try and stray from the Gavin Sheets stuff for just a minute, is Jose Abreu. I want some more MVP shit. I want some more long balls from Jose. I thought he really got close to one tonight. He's way overdue. So I'll stray away from Gavin Sheets for one game, and I'm gonna go Jose Abreu. MVP shit time.
Wow. I'm shocked that you're moving away from Gavin Sheets. I even, granted you didn't respond to the message Saturday night, but I did pencil you in. And I thought it was a pretty safe one since it's been your pick for since he's been
still
called up.
worked. Still worked.
I did it as a pinch hitter, and he did come through with a pinch hit single. Granted, the White Sox weren't able to get him around, but hey, he did his job in his spot there, made the most of his at bat that he got.
But Jose might need a little love.
Yeah,
Jose
needs
a little love.
I agree. I went with Jose on Saturday night. Unfortunately, did not work for him there, but hopefully in Casey, I like that. You go and Jose. Eloy, obviously for Steve, the new flashy, shiny toy here. Nice to have him back for the first time this season. Will be great to see. Tough one for me to kind of decipher through, and also you don't really know what the outfield mix is going to be. But I love him. I get it. Even though it's going to be hitting from the other side of the plate, he has now hit a home run from the right side of the plate already. He got that out of the way when they were during their last homestand. So it's one Mr. Yoan Mangata.
There you go. I like it, Johnny.
Yeah. So final thoughts here, and then other than that, I can get our little ad reads in here and knock this thing out.
Steve, you got final thoughts? I'm still preparing mine here.
My final thoughts are this. The Sox needed a stopper tonight. You didn't want to go out there and get swept. You didn't want to have to hear this bullshit narrative about, the Sox can't beat teams above 500. And who better to turn to than Guts and Nuts Lance Lynn? He delivered tonight. Let's go.
Final thoughts. It wasn't as successful of a series that you wanted in Milwaukee. I think the narrative still exists that the Sox have trouble with good teams on the road. But today was a good starting point to go out there and say that you can do it. So they need to build off that. Unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity to build on that because they're facing the Kansas City Royals. It's time to continue to take care of business within this division. It's time to continue to pad the lead that you have on the AL Central. You're adding a just dangerous bat to this lineup. And Johnny, you brought it up earlier today, and I love what you said about it, that it's going to protect guys around him in the order. It's going to make it just tremendously more difficult for opposing pitchers to work their way through this lineup. And that's what we all expected to see as we were heading into the season during spring training. That's only going to continue to get worse for opposing pitchers when Luis Robert comes back. Yasmani Grandal hopefully makes it back to this lineup. But this is where we have made our money. This is where we are just so good, is within the AL Central. It's time to continue that. It's time to start a winning streak and continue on. You've got Cleveland right after that. Let's just bury the AL Central this next week, boys. Let's just fucking bury the AL Central and then continue to build off what we did tonight in Milwaukee. Take that Lance Lynn attitude and just be fucking winners for the next week. And let's have victory beers on this show all week. So let's do it. That's my final thoughts.
Well, great way to wrap it up. Hey, title of this episode, Lance Lynn to the rescue. That was a big time, performance from a big time player tonight. I'd love to see it. And he's a leader on this team. No doubt about it. Showed that both on the field in his performance, both at the plate and on the mound, and also in his general mannerisms, energy level, team morale kind of stuff. So that was excellent. And I really hope Eloy is a shot in the arm. I would imagine it's going to take a little bit to get comfortable here, but I hope that can ignite some power in here, because we've talked about it. It's like, oh, when they get healthy. It's like worst thing that would happen is if we're still middling as an offense when some of these guys start to come back. And I know it's not the complete, picture that's going to come together right away. Still waiting on Robert, still waiting on Yaz Money, but this can at least be a little shot in the arm here. And I just want to see that. Some immediate returns are always cool on it, but hey, let's get that warmed up throughout this Kansas City series and carry it on into the weekend when we're back home against Cleveland. So, all right, that's about it, boys. Thank you for joining me tonight. Good to discuss a White Sox winner. They close this one out 3-1 on Sunday Night Baseball over the Brewers. We'll be in Kansas City. Check back for post-game shows all week with us here at Sox on Tap. Make sure you're visiting ontapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. You can follow us on social media at Sox on Tap and at On Tap Sportsnet. The show is brought to you by Grandstand. Make sure you are visiting Grandstand, 35th and Wallace, for all White Sox and Chicago sports merchandising needs. You can visit them and shop online, grandstandsox.com, and they're doing a bunch of cool new hat drops on their social media. So follow them at Grandstand Sox. See some of those sick new snapbacks they have, a bunch of throwback logos. Very cool designs that they have coming out there at Grandstand. So, boys, I only got 3 words left. White Sox forever.
White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.